try Shop Boss, and he signed up with Shop Boss and signed a contract with them. And then he was like, "This is an absolute mess." And I told him, it's like, well, now that Shopware is owned by the same company, you may be able to get Shopware to buy out the same contract. That's the same company. But I'm like, if you go to Shopware, like if they don't buy the contract out, try Tech, because it's between those two companies, and it's whatever one you like more, in my opinion. And he ended up ultimately choosing Tekmetric. He's like, I'm just going to ride the contract out until March, and then he chose Tech.
Well, he chose Tech because it's the far superior software in every way, shape, or form. You might not be aware, but we've started recording at this point.
So, we are.
Did it give you guys a notification that we started recording? I'm curious.
It did. It gave us a countdown. We've been looking at Tekmetric since last year. We've been kind of looking, slowly poking and prodding. So I don't know. We'll see.
What is the limiting factor that's keeping you from making the switch?
What used to be the limiting factor is one of the service writers up front is real hesitant to change, and he is a key player. I would not want to do this without him. But we've had some conversations, and we've spent more time. We moved him. He was at our Lockport shop. We got a great manager for our Lockport shop, and we just needed a really strong service writer for our Sanborn shop. And Justin was the one that fit the bill. We already had the guy. So we moved him from Lockport. So him and I were apart for, I think we moved him out to Lockport in maybe like 2016 or 2017, maybe something like that. And we just brought him back at the end of 2023. So it took us a little bit to get acclimated to each other again, but I feel like he's got the trust factor, and it's like, it's one of those things. He's understanding that the reason I'm saying that we should probably do this is because I do believe it'll make his life easier. So he's starting to understand that. So I think the winds of change are blowing.
I'm gonna beat you into submission with this over the next few months, and when you switch over, your dude's gonna complain and bitch and moan about it for like a week.
Well, I mean, we're on the covered wagon now, so I mean, we might. We're on the covered wagon right now, so we could die of dysentery
at any given moment.
At any given moment, especially when I mess around with the covered wagon settings, it's not good.
You try to ford that river of a complex estimate.
Yes, yeah.
Susie's going to drown.
We're going to write a complex estimate. You have died of dysentery.
All right, so I have, and I don't know if it's a confession or an observation, but realized as I've gotten older that I'm slowly turning into Mr. Rogers. Not in all the good ways, like because he's like a good human being, right? I'm still an evil shop owner. But when I get home now, I take off my sweater, my nice shirt, my nice coat, whatever I'm wearing, and I put on a house sweater I'm wearing right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got a house sweater. I take off
my shoes and my socks, and I put on house slippers.
Oh, shit, you're old.
Yeah. I've upgraded my house slipper game recently because for Christmas in our family gift exchange, there was a set of UGG fur-lined slippers. So I'm wearing UGGs right now.
Sick.
They're not like up my leg. They're just like slippers.
Whatever. But, even if they were up here, like, who freaking cares? That's freaking baller shit.
But yeah, I feel like when I come in the house and I switch into my house sweater and my house slippers that...
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers never poured a whiskey immediately after doing that, though, right?
He thought about it.
I don't know if that guy ever drank. I know he was a Presbyterian. I think he was a Presbyterian minister, I believe.
Was he really?
I think so.
There's a movie about him though, from a few years ago that's supposed to be great. I haven't seen it. But,
we might have. Whatever. I might have checked that out. That sounds awesome.
Anyway, I feel like we're like 4 or 5 minutes into this and we haven't even introduced our guest. That's some shit that Lucas and David would do.
It's identical.
Josh Coomes, All OK Auto Repair, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Also, let's be honest, one of the most promising young talents in the world of online trolling. Yes. The content that you're putting out right now is simply beautiful.
It's absolutely superior compared to the other content.
Definitely want to talk about your troll skills and where you think it came from, but first let's, I guess, learn a little bit about your business and yourself.
And Bridger Mountain Troll.
Yeah. Give me the 10,000 foot view. What's the story?
So, I guess I started UTI in 1999, Volkswagen school, very similar to the Humble Mechanic. We went to the same program, just about a year and a half apart from each other. We had really good experiences in the Volkswagen dealership, and it really worked well. And then I branched off and did my own thing for about 3 years, from 2006 to 2009, and realized that I can't turn it off. And I basically moved to Chicago, where my wife's from, sold all my equipment, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to like just work a 9 to 5, right? Uh, as a shop owner. So I went back to the VW dealer, and in that time, it took me to sell all of my equipment and move. That all fell through. I had 3 jobs lined up, and it was right at like that when the industry kind of shut down. So I joined the Army, and I did 12 years in the Army. I got hurt, and I ended up medically retiring. So I kind of figured that was going to happen. I ended up starting a mobile mechanic business. I was the brakes and water pump guy, and I did that for a few years. Body was still not really recovering, so I took an office job doing high voltage work, which is what I did in the Army. And I realized that white collar, clean fingernails are not for me. So we took the plunge and went brick and mortar. So now we are in Fayetteville. We are 1 year into our brick and mortar business. I'm really happy with where we are right now. It's a 7 bay shop. I've got four
Oh,
two
wow.
post. Yeah,
That's
four
nice.
two. Yeah, it's pretty good. I got 4 2-post lifts, 1 drive on, and a mid rise.
Hey there. I'm going to tell you about something that has completely transformed how I run my shop, Tekmetric. As a 20-year shop owner, outdated systems used to slow us down. Everything was clunky, from check-in to estimate building to customer updates. It all felt just super inefficient. Switching to Tekmetric has changed everything. With Tekmetric, you get a powerful shop management system that includes DVI, quick and easy estimate building, inventory management, real-time reporting, amazing customer communication, and it's really easy for your employees to learn how to use the software. I'm talking like a 1-day learning curve. On top of that, Tekmetric has tons of other tools to make you an even better operator. Stuff like integrated payments with buy now, pay later options is a huge asset. Ask me how I know. And recently, they've added a CRM component with their partnership with Shop Genie, which I'm a happy Shop Genie customer already. So I'm super excited about that. Now, obviously, there are a lot of factors at play here, but I want to give you some facts about my business since I made the change to Tekmetric. In September of 2020, when I switched to Tekmetric, my ARO was $293. In September of 2024, we were $916. That's over 300% growth. Now, I'm not saying that Tekmetric created all of that change, but I'm 100% saying that I couldn't have come this far without Tekmetric. It's a key factor in our growth and success. If you're ready to level up your shop, Tekmetric has everything you need: productivity, revenue, customer experience. Measure up by every measure with Tekmetric. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more.
Just hired my second technician. We ended up in the net, a good net number last year. So like we're already profitable. Thanks to some decent coaching from a few different people and industry leaders alike. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm looking for extreme growth this year, and I think I might have a really good team to do so. So,
So did you go through a goal setting exercise with your coach for the year?
yes, it's actually, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, right? My coach is Rick White, and
Why would you?
I had a different coach when I first started. Before I went full time, I hired a different coaching company, and it just wasn't a good fit. And after about 6 months, I kind of just parted ways. Now, I'll say this, though, that coaching company absolutely set me up for profit. There's no doubt. And that's what allowed us to be where we are today for sure. But I brought Rick in um, at the end of the year, and that program that he has is way better fit for where we are. So, uh, I'm sorry, Mike. I missed where we answering the question.
No, we're talking about 25 goals. Like,
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at. So Rick has a setup where it's 3 year destination and 1 year goal, and then there's 90-day pushes in there, and then there's 2 week targets. So it's set up that way on purpose to make sure you kind of stay focused. So yeah, I have a 3 year goal that I want property. So like we break that down and saying I need to save this much money per year in order to do so. In order to do that, I need to know how many hours I need to sell. You know, like you know, it's just funny when you talk about that kind of stuff. It's like he wants very specific goals, and they have to be attainable, right? But we did like $600,000 the first year in business with a technician for 6 months. I hired my first tech in July. So it's like, oh, I want $1 million. Well, why? Like, that's not good enough. You need to know why you want $1 million. Well, because it's a cool number, and then you actually do the math and it's like, wait a minute, my shop capacity is actually like $2.3 million. So like if I said $1 million, that's like I'm selling
Half
myself short.
capacity.
Yeah, and it's just like crazy, right? And you're like, so now, like, really honestly, my goal is just to be the best shop in the area. Like, I want to be better than the dealer fixing cars that the dealer can't fix, right? And it takes a really good, talented team to do that. And I think my new technician is really going to help us get there. My first technician is very good, very capable, just not quite as trained as where I need him to be. And I have a good person, so I'm looking hopefully to train everybody the same. But yeah, definitely goal setting is extremely important.
Well, I like what you said about your first coach set you up to be profitable. And Rick is the right coach for you right now. And I think that's like, obviously, I'm with Elite. They sponsor the podcast. I've been with them for 20 plus years. I love them. But finding the right coach for you, super important. And not every coaching company is the right coach for every shop. We have specialists in the industry. We have generalists and we have specialists. And, there are guys out there who work on exotics. There are guys out there who work on, diesel stuff all the time, that kind of thing. I think Rick he might take offense to this, and I apologize if he does, but I think he's a specialist on small growing shops, taking them from that 600,000 point to that $2 million point. I think that's his sweet spot. He's really good at that. There are other coaches out there that can do that too, but and then there are coaches that they don't even want to hear from you unless you're at $1 million. The cool thing about how you got your relationship started with Rick, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you bought 1 year of coaching from him at a charity auction for hurricane relief, right? After Hurricane Helene. Is that right?
Yes. I did meet him before, actually, at the ASTA convention. Maybe it was ASTE then, right?
Yeah.
For 2023. I think that's the first time I met Rick with one of his classes. And then after that, Lucas put on an event at his shop and checking out the local Votech over there. And Rick was invited to speak at the college. And I met with him, and it was just like a really good interaction. Like, you can tell that he does not, I mean, he's there to make money, don't get me wrong, but that's not what his driving force is. His driving force is to fix you, right? And he's not the kind of guy that's like, yeah, if you got the money, you can hire me. No. If it's not a good fit, he doesn't want your money, right? It's like that's the kind of person he is. Like, I know that he is helping a friend of mine right now for $0, right? Because he wants to get him profitable enough to where he's not going out of business. He has a better home life, and then we can pay for coaching once you're able to afford it. And it's really good like that.
Hey, everybody. I wanted to take a minute to tell you about the coaching organization I've been involved with for, over 20 years now. Elite. Elite Worldwide, they don't give you a one-size-fits-all solution. They tailor the coaching specifically to you and your shop. They pair you with an experienced coach who is either a current or a former shop owner, and they turn strategies into actual action and accountability and results. Whether it's improving your service advisor's sales, growing your shop, growing to multiple locations, they really have you covered. They've got training for all of those things. Clients of Elite really see results, higher profits, stronger teams, a better work-life balance. If you're ready to take the next step, visit eliteworldwide.com to schedule your discovery session. That's eliteworldwide.com to start working on your business rather than in it. Tell them that you heard about them on Confessions of a Shop Owner so that I get a pat on the back or maybe a box of chocolates or something. That would be awesome. Thanks.
So regarding the payout, yes, it was when ASTA this past year. Um, you know, it was like I got a good deal, right? But that's not really what it was about. It was like it felt good to be able to donate that. Obviously, Rick donated his time that's worth a lot more than what the auction sold for. Um, and like we cut a check, and it was like it was really emotional for me. I'm sure it was for others. I know it was for you, Mike.
It
But
was a beautiful night. I mean,
it
we
was
raised almost $100,000 in 30 minutes.
It
it
was
was
unbelievable.
It was crazy.
So,
So it feels good to do that, but like, yes, I got a good price on it. I mean, it was a pretty big nut to cover all at once. I had to move some money around, but but we did it, and I have no desire to take advantage of that 1 year and leave either. I think this is more of a 2 to 3 year endeavor to try to get all my ducks in a row. But yeah, like I'm grateful for Rick offering that, and I'm grateful to make a donation to help a lot of those people. Like I'm lucky that my stuff didn't wash away, you know? Like that's pretty like bad.
yeah.
Yeah. Could you
Absolutely.
imagine? Oh my gosh.
Like when
I
you
mean,
said it, that one guy lost his house and his business. So he has no place to live, he has no means of income. Like what are you supposed to do?
and it's a 1,000-year flood, so there's no flood insurance,
Yeah.
right? So you just start over from scratch and depend
Oh,
on the yeah. Anyway, we should move on from that. Um, so anyway, that's kind of your story. You said you were in the Army for how many years?
12 years.
And what was your MOS? What were you doing?
So I first came in as a 91 Delta, which is a generator mechanic. My initial plan was not to make the Army a career. So there was another program or MOS called 12P, and that's prime power. And that is basically um, medium voltage production, distribution, and transformation, or transformation and distribution. Our main mission was to support FEMA, and also we would support the infrastructure in the United States for different projects, and we would also supply power to for Army assets. Like we can do a 2,000 man base camp with our organic equipment that each platoon basically has, or a small hospital and that kind of stuff. Um, so to get into that job, when it was first there, you couldn't just go into it right off the street. So I took like the baby version of a generator mechanic, knowing that I was going to go into that program, get my skill set, and then move on. I was going to get out of the industry, right? As like our buddy Jeff Compton always, and you and a bunch of other people like talk about. That's what I was. My plan was, and
Flower shop, baby. I'm building a flower shop.
yeah. So like that, once you get comfortable, and I did a lot of cool stuff. Like I love deploying, airborne operations. Like it was awesome. I got lucky enough to be selected for like special operations, and then I kind of came out of that back into that prime power role. Then I got back into special operations again, and then I got hurt, and it was like that was it. So 12 years, generator mechanic. Obviously, I excelled as the mechanical part, and then I learned the AC voltage, which helped me a lot. And then I got into like some electronics training in that school, and then it helped me a little bit more applying some of that theory to automotive.
Awesome. Can you tell us what happened with your injury, or is that like a nah?
Oh no, it doesn't matter. I had two discs that were gone in my neck. So I had degenerative disc disease, and then I had herniated discs. And the first, I started walking around like this. For those guys that
Oh,
are listening, I'm like standing over off to the side, right? So after a few MRIs and stuff, they're like, "Yeah, dude, you need surgery." And I had really bad nerve damage, and I lost my muscles in my right tricep. So like trying to do physical stuff, and the last job I had was very physically demanding. It wasn't in the cards anymore. So I ended up having the first doctor wanted to do 3 vertebrae fusions, and I was like, yeah, I'm only 40 years old. How about we talk to somebody else? And then I ended up getting arthroplasty done. So I have like I'm kind of a cyborg, I guess. So I have metal in my spine. So and it
nice.
worked out really well. So I still have like really good movement in my neck, but I can't look up like for a long time. So if I'm in a class, I usually have to stand up or stretch my neck a lot. Or if I'm stuck underneath the car doing a transmission on the lift, like I can't really do that kind of stuff anymore. And when I do, I'm reminded why I'm not in the Army anymore.
So you have titanium in your neck, is what
Oh
you're
yeah,
saying, right?
I'm the bionic
Nice.
man, $6 million man, right?
My R1 service writer has 7 plates in his forehead because him and his brother were hitting golf balls at each other.
I guess his brother won that game.
Yeah, they had to fold his face down and put plates in his forehead. So yeah.
Oops.
Well,
yeah. Play stupid games.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, just organically, a large group of us almost accidentally broke one of the major Facebook groups.
Automotive groups, yeah.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
Just
We just
yeah,
all
just
had
one
really
weekend,
funny
I guess.
ideas all within a 24-hour period, and the thing almost burnt to the ground.
Yeah, we turned it into a shitposting group by accident.
I'm like, they might be able to save the foundation of this place, but that's about it. She's burned up.
And I was starting to feel bad. I was like, man, somebody worked hard to build this group, and we've just fucking destroyed it for our shits and giggles.
By accident. Not even intentionally.
No. And so I was like, hey guys, look. Can we all just agree that like Friday afternoon through Sunday night, this is a shitposting group, and then Monday through Friday at lunchtime, it's like a legitimate automotive group.
And then this past Friday at 12:02 p.m., here comes Josh marching into the office.
And
12:02 p.m.
The best satire fools half the people, right? And you made this post, and when we were online Friday night, it was at 190 comments. And I'm sure it's still going. I haven't checked on it recently.
I don't know where it's at, but
it slowed down a lot. We only had like 5 comments since then.
Okay. The best satire posts fool half the people. Josh fooled 95% of the people. Like there was like 3 people out of 200 that understood that this was messing around.
I got dudes that I really respect that are very rarely ones to fall for that, and they were commenting, "This is a joke, right? He's not serious, right?"
They weren't sure.
And then I got people texting screenshots in my group chats. They're like, "This whole thing is a shit show," and they didn't realize that it was a troll post.
Does this guy really think the waiver protects him? You're wrong. Waivers don't protect you. Blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was.
So if you're listening and you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, I need you to go to Auto Shop Owners Hangout and join the group if you're not a member. But if you scroll to Friday, January 31, Joshua Coomes posted. There's a picture of a car with standing water in the driver's side floorboard, and it's obviously had a fire, and the dash just melted down and everything else.
It's magical.
You need to read that post, and
it is magical. I didn't think the individual corner brake service, I didn't think he was able to top that one, because the week before he was doing individual corners of the car, right?
No,
how'd that go?
No, that was 2 weeks prior. The week before, he had a panning video of the back lot that was like half junkyard. What was that? What was that one?
So, all right. So it started with the first one. It started with we were slow on the schedule, so I offered a custom brake job, and I made sure that I posted in all of the yard sale pages in the city. And so you always get the best clientele from that. And then I offered custom brake service where we only put the pad on that's needed, right? So we can put one brake pad on your car and get you rolling, right? And then at the end, I was like, and if you buy all 4 brake pads per axle, I might throw in an oil change, or and then the other one is like if you pay for, I discount the labor, and you can upgrade the service to like greasing the slide pins, So it was like, and it just blew up. That was like the first one. I just thought it was funny to try to do
There
that.
were people that were raging at you. You're the problem with this industry. You're why we have a bad reputation. And
well, really, what started all of it was that for a while, for like a few weeks, there was real posts in there. Well, maybe I was trolled. I don't know. But there was real posts in there.
No, we weren't trolled. Those were real.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's sad, right? Like that's the part that's scary, is that there's so many owners out there that are making these like horrible mistakes. And there's so many people out there that want to help. And it's like, dude, we're like, I'm not saying you don't deserve to be an owner, but like, holy cow, man, there's like certain things that like, everyone starts somewhere, but I mean, you're started underground at this point. Like you like get yourself up to where at least you're on a level playing field, And
I think at one point I asked, I did a post, how can I bill the customer for hitting my hand with a hammer?
Yeah. So that was started it, and then from there it was like, I got a good one, And I was actually in training. I was at a Rick Live event in Tucson. I made my service advisor go out to the back lot, just so you know, like none of those cars are mine. My landlord, his dad died 2 years ago, and this guy was like, "Yep, bring it in. I'll get to it when I get to it." Well, they had like 100 cars here. There's still like 42 cars left, and I'm trying to get on the landlord to get this stuff out of here because it makes my shop look junky. It's behind a fence, but it still looks bad. And my goal is to have my shop look like you can't afford to come in here. So like that doesn't help, right? So I made her get on a ladder and take that panning shot of like, all of the junk that's here. And I was like, oh, it worked out great. We made so much money on our brake job that we can now, we signed a lease on our bigger building, and it came with 42 cars that are already sitting here ready to go. And like half the engines are already out. So like the labor's like,
use the brake pads for your brake special.
Yeah, you can use the used brake pads.
So it was like, it works out awesome because now I have like 42 cars here, and like half the labor's done, so I can save money, and it's like a huge up and boost, and and efficiency and stuff. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? And then it was just like, it was just fun. And what the best part is that I only do that stuff on Friday, right? And then like, even when I'm responding to people, I still don't usually troll. I mean, there's an occasional one in there, smart ass comment, but for the most part, that's it. Now I'll troll hard on that post. And I felt bad because I corrected someone's grammar. I'm like, hey man, I'm in the zone. Like
YOU_RE.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And I was like, oh man, he was all mad and butthurt. I'm trying to help you, and I was like, I actually DM'd him. I was like, hey dude, I'm just messing around, dude. It's Friday, you know what I mean? So for anybody that listens to this podcast and goes in there, and if you figure it out on Friday, keep your mouth shut, dude.
Yeah,
don't ruin it.
Yeah, don't tell everybody that it's a troll post.
So
let it cook.
But
let it simmer. Let it simmer for a little while.
Well, to your point of your goal is to make this place look like they can't afford it. If you look at the historical pictures of Google Maps Street View of what it looked like before you moved in versus what you've got it looking like right now, man, you're a year in and you're doing an incredible job.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Kudos to you.
It's definitely a lot of hard work, and it's a balancing act of how much money do I want to put in a building I don't own. And then it's like, well, how much more is the property worth after I did all this remodeling? I just spent $3,000 on a freaking heater I don't own. You know what I mean? And it's like, that kind of sucks, but you need heat. So it's like, and it was nice to have that thing set on 60 degrees, and you're out there, like, it's perfect. You're
going to pop off, a little over $2 million this year. 3,000 will be all right. You'll be okay.
I think so. It's a good investment. That's what it takes to hire good talent. I don't have AC, and I probably never will until I own it. I can insulate it, stick frame it, and sheathe it. But until then, heat's a pretty good step in the right direction, I think.
One of the funniest things that I've realized in the last couple of years, traveling around the country and talking to shop owners all over the place, is Like if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, you got to have AC, right? It just kind of is what it is. But there's a bunch of dudes across Texas and Florida, up to North Carolina, everything else that do not have air conditioning in their shops. Two of my shops have air conditioning. In one of the shops, the air conditioning works. In my original big shop, there's no AC.
ESO action.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get there.
If you're hot, work
But
faster.
here's the
Wait a
thing.
second. That's not how that works.
And you
That's
get
for
up
the
in
no
like
heat.
the
Never mind.
Northeast and where Brian is, and in like the Midwest, like, oh my God, you have to have air conditioning. It's such a killer.
I know.
Yeah, it gets up to like 88 degrees where you guys are for
I
like
know
3 weeks. Oh my
I know
God.
a guy in New Hampshire that, like, in the summertime, he sets his air conditioning. It's like 64 degrees in his shop.
Whereas, like
nice in here
my buddy
today.
Harrison, like he did a major remodel on a shop. I was like, bro, you gonna put some air conditioning in? He was like, motherfucker, do you know how much that would cost in this 60-year-old building that was like an airplane hangar?
The minute they have waste oil air conditioning, I'm going all out. We're doing it.
Yeah,
As soon
waste
as
oil AC, maybe. Yeah, then we can get there.
if they make waste oil AC, I'm doing it, man. Like that's
Explain
how
how
it's
that
going to go.
technology would work. I need, yeah.
Well, I mean, RV fridges run off of propane because it heats up ammonia. Why can't they just do the same thing with the air conditioning? Should I shut up and patent that?
That's how you become a billionaire, right there.
An absorption refrigerator, but air conditioning,
waste oil air conditioners for shops.
Heck yeah!
So much cancer.
Stop.
So anyway, real quick, Josh. One of the things that we do on this is I always ask. It's confessions of a shop owner, right? And so I guess technically you've stepped into the confessional at this point. So, bless me, shop owner, for I have sinned. What did you fuck up in 2024, and what are you going to do differently to change that?
I think there's like a couple things that come to mind, right? I'll mention on two of them. We definitely had a problem in the shop where we had a wheel fall off, and that's a pretty big one. Now we'll dive into that one just for a few minutes, but like I pulled up my security footage. We hand torque wheels here, right? And like to be all honest, my footage dropped out while the hand torquing was done. But I have the footage is my tech with the torque wrench in the hand. The footage drops out, and then the tech puts the torque wrench back on the on his cart. So I'm like, we hand torqued the wheels, okay? And so here's how that kind of transpired. The customer came from Florida. We absolutely blew him away with quality of service.
But he obviously works for the CIA because he hacked your cameras.
Yeah, so
just saying.
Quality of service, the entire inspection process, all of the documentation, the pictures and everything. He didn't even want to tell us that the wheel fell off. Okay. And I had to twist his arm to at least allow me to pay for his own deductible on his car. And then he was getting it repaired. The insurance company was giving him a hard time on a rental. So I was like, take a loaner car. It's not a problem until your car gets fixed. Here's a loaner car. So he had that for like 2 weeks. And then he comes back and the car is not driving right. He had it aligned. He called the insurance company. Insurance companies said that this shop is top rate. There's no way there's anything wrong. It's pre-existing. Now I drove this car before the brakes were done and there was no problem. It ended up having basically a combination of worn control arm bushings, and it had some subframe bushings. It's an Infinity SUV. It had worn subframe bushings, and the car was self-steering on acceleration and deceleration. So we made it better. We put matching control arms in the car. It was safe to drive, but still wasn't right. And he insisted on paying the bill for that. And I was like,
gosh.
What? I said, if you pay this bill, I am going to keep the money aside and we're going to donate it back to somebody that needs it. So I've given $600. His bill was $1,600 is what it cost to put these control arms in. And I basically gave $600 of it away already. I have some stuff lined up with like the Army uh, community service. Like they have a thing called an AER loan, and they help guys. It's a loan to themselves at 0% interest. So I'm in talking with them, trying to find some of these like junior enlisted guys to be able to like, hey, don't borrow any money. We still have money I can give you, free repair. You know what I mean? So we still have like $1,000 to give away. I wanted it gone before the end of the year because I totally forgot. Like, if the IRS is listening, no, I don't have a separate account set up for that. I'm just giving it away. So it is what it is. So that's how
IRS, if you're listening, stop listening to this and go listen to David Roman and go after him. He's hiding lots of money.
Roman.
Yes.
ROMAN.
Yes. ROMAN, bald.
Kansas City.
Small, actually regular size. I call him small. Whatever.
So that was like a pretty big folly. Now, what changed? The reason why it happened, I think, is it was aftermarket wheels, aftermarket lug nuts. No hub centering rings on the wheels, right? So now, anytime we pull a car in, the wheels get torqued, period. Anytime we pull a wheel, it gets torqued on service, and then 7-mile test drive gets torqued again. So that's the first time my tech or myself has ever lost a wheel in 25 plus years of working on a car. So it's like, hey, normally we would always blast them on with an impact. Well, we're trying to be the better shop, and it ended up biting us, right? So that was one thing that kind of changed, and that's a pretty big mistake. The other one is, here's a big one that's kind of deeper, is setting too high of goals for yourself, right? I want everything all at once right now, all right? And, I'm not afraid to work 100 hours a week. It's not a problem. But when it ends up happening, I started losing focus because I'm not seeing progression, and then I get bored, and it's a problem where I start basically not caring anymore. Like, I'm definitely not looking at my numbers as much as I used to 6 months ago, and it's because like I'm not moving far enough ahead. I feel like instead of walking forward, I'm just going sideways. Like, I'm not going backwards, but I'm like there's motion, but it's not forward, and it's bad. So I actually talked to Rick at the Rick Live event. I actually asked him, I was like, did I let you down? We've only been working together for like 2 or 3 months, right? And he's like, absolutely not. And he told me, like, dude, you have to slow down. You have to work on one thing at a time. And for me, we were so busy. It's like the one thing that I need to work on is hiring a technician. Every ounce of my being has to be in hiring somebody to bring them in the shop so I can focus on running the business. Because the shop's got to eat, right? It's got to eat 4 cars a day, 4 days a week, at minimum, to be able to meet our goals. And Mike's looking at me crazy. We don't schedule on Friday typically until Wednesday afternoon, because we usually we have a pretty high average repair order for general service and a pretty high average hour per RO. The last I checked, we were close to like $900 and between 3.8 and 5 hours a month on hours per ticket. So
wow, that's really good.
Yeah, so like we have a really good process and it works. Like you always talk about decreasing liability, like really good inspections, and don't overload the shop. Yeah, the shop's got to make hours, but they come when you like take your time and do it right. And then you don't have to worry about comebacks and a bunch of other stuff. So it really works well, the process and honestly, some of that was set up from my coach, the ASOG mastermind. For those that are listening and you're kind of getting started, or not even started, but you're looking to try to like fix yourself and your business, get a hold of Adam Rath and talk to him. He's like the leader, I guess, of the ASOG mastermind group. And that's like a little hidden gem that's part of ASOG that can really get you squared away for free dollars a month.
$3 and free cents.
Yep. And it's really, really
I'm surprised
good.
how many people don't know about the ASOG mastermind group. And I know that they don't have the capacity for thousands of shop owners, but if you're a startup shop owner and you're trying to go from $0 to $1, that's the place you need to be. If you don't have the budget for a professional coach, you can get incredible information, incredible knowledge.
It seems like there's a ton of really, really sharp people in there.
Yeah, and they care too. If you're not putting forth the effort, I think I haven't been in the part of that group for a few months, but they're probably going to lay down the hammer. I hope they do, to be honest, because there are a lot of people that aren't participating, and the group doesn't work unless you have group participation. And it kind of sucks because like you want that, right? Like you were there for a reason. Well, most of us are, and but that's a really good asset to have, and then rely on. So knowing that I have to step back and relax a little bit, breathe, and then move forward with with taking it easy, working on one thing at a time. The biggest problem that most shops have probably is whether or not they're like closing the doors because they're not profitable, right? So if you can stay profitable, at least then you can start working on your business, right? And at least I have that, like, hey, we're doing okay. Let's try to fix this and get to that 2.3 million. And it's a reasonable goal. It's 50 hours a week per technician. It's not 100. It's 50 hours a week, 3 techs. Like the numbers work.
All right, I fucking nerd out about numbers. Like when you say the numbers work, it's like when Brian talks about scoping a reverse camera or some shit. I don't know what that video was.
We
You
don't
sent
scope
to
reverse cameras. Oh well, actually, I kind of did, but from the DLC, it's different.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
Can see
All right,
bus, Mike.
2.3 million divided by 52 weeks. That's 44,000 a week. That's balling for a 7-bay shop. Depending on the shop, especially a 5-day shop. So divided by 5 days, that's 8,800 a day. Do you know what your parts and labor sales per build hour are, roughly?
If I had Tekmetric, I'd probably tell you a lot faster.
Yeah, I can tell you really fast. What's your ARO?
Right now we're floating at about 800.
Okay, 800. That's
Yeah,
really good for general repair. And what's your hours per RO?
last I checked, it was 3.8.
All right, so we got some room for growth there so that's $210 per hour build, parts and labor. So 8,800 divided by 210 means you need 42 hours a day. That's 4 techs.
I guess.
Right?
Yeah, I'd have to do my math again. I would believe you with 20 something years more than I have in the industry. But when I did my math, I thought I did it at 50 hours times 3 techs at 48 weeks instead of 52 for time off. With
Well,
a
that's 7,200 hours a year.
with a 50-50 split of labor ratio to parts.
And then what's your effective parts rate? Effective labor rate? Sorry.
Right. I just raised my labor rate. I believe my effective labor rate is 135.
Good.
About 10% off. We just went up to 150 an hour.
Well, so 7,200 hours with 135 as your effective labor rate and a 1-to-1 parts to labor ratio is going to get you almost to 2 million there. And so I'll tell you, you're in a challenging market, right? You're not in an affluent market. It's a medium-sized city, heavily dependent upon the military. There's a lot of low income, but still, there are operators in your market that are getting $250 to $260 per hour when you consider parts and labor.
Build, right? Yep.
That didn't mean that you're there right now, but you're at 210 right now. So you're not far off, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're at 210, you want to get to 250, $40, that's not $40 on your labor rate. That's $20 on your labor rate, right? And maybe it's a little bit on your parts matrix, and maybe it's a little bit more effective at your estimate building process so that you don't accidentally give away coolant or you don't forget to add that gasket or whatever it might be, right?
That's actually, I wrote that on my whiteboard today. I have a spot on the whiteboard. It's like, I think it's written up as, what did we miss? Like, there's labor that's being missed. And
labor and unbilled parts.
The unbilled parts is, I'm pretty sure that's pretty good with the way we have our system set up. But the issue is, and a great example, we have a Mercedes in here right now for an intake flap actuator that's broken, right? Now, my service writer brought, like, we gave the estimate over the phone, which usually is not what we want to do, but we were battling a little bit of a car count issue. So the customers sounded like they were serious. They sound like they have money, and it was worth it for us to invest that into that opportunity, right? And it worked. They came in. So here's the problem: the car shows up. It's got lean condition faults that may or may not be related to the intake flaps.
Mike's falling asleep.
Yeah. So
I can get there this far.
Okay.
so now we have an issue where we have a lean condition fault that may or may not be related to the intake flap breaking, and there's no evaluation time on this whatsoever. They came in with someone else's diagnosis, and it's like, this is what it costs if you need to do an intake manifold. This is what it costs if we can fix it. This is, and it's like, okay, they pre-approved everything, and now we have to worry about whether or not we're going to charge them to go after the lean fault after an extensive test drive. Of course, I'm going to charge them, but the problem is, well, we already did the estimates, and it's just a mess. This is why you don't do estimates over the phone, which is why you always have an evaluation anyway that comes in. So it's like whether or not we add 25% to the Mitchell times, and that's how we do it. And then that kind of pads a little bit, but at the same time, it's not really meant to be a pad, but it can be a buffer. But I want to charge for test driving. I want to charge for all these other things that it's not being billed appropriately. If it costs the tech's time, I'm going to bill for it. And
so, do you think it's easier to add a tenth for the test drive and add a half hour for readiness monitors and add, or is it easier to just add $30 to your labor rate across the board and consume those items?
Okay, so my techs are on a hybrid plan, right? So if I'm adding to the labor rate, I'm not paying the technician
for their time,
and that's the problem with that.
Yeah, right.
Now, I will raise the labor rate. So my GP per hour, last time I calculated it with my expenses, we need to be at about 155 an hour to be profitable. And if I do something that, if I build an estimate and if I feel the technician can smash the time that's being sold, then I might be okay with it lower, because I know it's not really accurate, because I know the tech's going to be able to bang it out fast. Okay. So I have a little bit of leeway, but if we're doing other things like heavy labor jobs, they're always way below our goal of 155 to stay in business. So I'm just adding to the labor rate at that point. So it's not uncommon for us. Our door rate is 150. It's not uncommon for me to bump it up to 190 an hour just to make sure that I'm maintaining profitability on the job. So, but I don't want to take advantage of the tech. If it's going to take longer, I'm charging more hours. If it's not more hours, then I'm going to raise the labor rate to make up for the profitability.
Well, you're also allowed to take really good care of the tech and take really good care of yourself, and charge the customer for the incredible service that you're giving, right? You can do both.
Plan. Yeah.
So for sure. And I say that not for you. I say that for people that may be listening that don't yet have the confidence in themselves to demand what they're worth, right? You, of all of the startup kind of early on in the progression shop owners that I've met over the years, you have your shit together and know your numbers better than 99% of them. I'm going to be totally honest with you. The fact that you could rattle off your ARO and hours per RO and your
what you need to be
labor rate, and gross profit. You understand why gross profit per hour matters. That already puts you way above the large majority of startup shops. So you're a year in, and you're already doing remarkably
5-year
well.
stuff.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Now,
you're already doing the I'm about to go out of business package. You're already starting to look at the things that guys don't look at until they're like, why am I poor and why do I owe $100,000?
Yeah.
It felt good to have like an end of year spending spree, so I don't have to pay so many taxes. And it's like, now I was looking at buying a new alignment rack for the shop, and it's like, wait a minute. In my opinion, alignment racks, they're not money makers. They're not, right, but they offer the quality of service that you want to do. I want the alignment right, so I'm going to do it myself. Now you can do an alignment and then get all the work sold because it needs all this stuff for an alignment. Like you can look at it that way. But if I have a shop that I swear to God, my shop charges me $67 for an alignment, like, and it's right. So why? I don't own this building. I do not want to put forth that much effort into putting an alignment rack in my shop right now. And I'd rather put that $70,000 into the bank so I can buy property and put the alignment rack I wanted, surface mounted, like really nice stuff.
So do you think when it's time?
I think your priorities are right, and I think if you can sublet quality alignments for $67, not counting calibrations, which are going to become bigger and bigger of a problem, I think you're not wrong. But once you get to a position where your car count is more than 4 to 6 a day, an alignment machine will pay for itself.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. And for those that are listening, make sure you look up Dutch's information because the actual true cost of paying for that alignment rack is nowhere near what you think it is.
Yeah, don't use the calculator that the equipment salesman gives you to determine your break-even point.
The one that says if you do 2.5 alignments a month, this thing will make you $300,000 the first year. That one. I don't know what kind of math they're using. I'm like, I was looking at one day. Snap-on's got a nice one on their website where it tells you that you can't afford not to buy their flagship tool. You will literally, it literally pays for itself sitting in the drawer somehow. I don't know how you afford not to buy it. So Josh, how big of a difference remind me, are you a week or 2 weeks into your new technician? Your tech that you hired?
We are 4 days into him.
4 days. Okay.
Yep. So Monday he chose
new.
Yeah, he chose to bring his box in on Monday instead of this weekend, which is fine. So I paid for his toolbox to get moved.
Nice.
Yep. And we brought it in here, and he's 4 days in. Now, we sold a bunch of work. And to ask me what my open ticket is right now, I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you that he only billed like 9 hours in his first week, but we sold 50, I think. So we just have to get parts and get it done. So we still have a car count issue. It was kind of like really bad timing. We were balls at the wall for like 3 or 4 months, 6 months. And then as soon as I finally got this guy in, I've been dragging him along, or he's been dragging me along for like a month and a half. And it's like, oh, we got a car count issue. But I know it's coming. And it picked up this week at least.
There's a lot of people this time of year talking about being slow. I think shops that haven't seen an impact. I mean, we run so overbooked. Like everybody still worked overtime, but we certainly don't have the 100+ cars on the lot. It was more like 60 at the Sanborn shop. But everybody still had to work from 7 to 6. So it's not like we're out of cars, but to say that nobody's slowing down, I mean, if we didn't, we are slowing down. We're just not running out of work. Instead of having, 80 grand on the lot sold, we have 20 grand on the lot sold. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Well, I'm in a position where 2 of my shops are almost caught up. And that's not a good feeling.
Jerky.
Yeah. But one of my shops has $60,000 of sold work that we're trying to get pushed out. And it's like, why can't everyone just have like 30,000 carrying over from week to week? That would be good. So anyway,
I would love a 30,000 week. Like
you're going to be there. You're going to be 30,000 a week is going to be the average week for you.
Especially
very soon.
When you know what you have to do. I mean, that's huge. Knowing exactly what you have to do and having a plan, right? Plan, do, check, act, right? Is that how that goes? PDCA? Yeah. Plan, do, check, act. Yeah. So you have a plan, and now you're
10,000 per week per tech is a very reasonable number if you're still counting yourself as a tech. That number will go down.
I don't want to be. I think the way I see 2025 going, there's a possibility. I haven't talked to my service advisor now, but I have a feeling that she may be better as a CSR primary and a backup advisor, and then me being the advisor. So, but the problem I'm having right now with, if I do that, I'm still in the business, and I kind of don't want to. But I mean, I maybe I'm wrong, but I feel as though I can sell ketchup popsicles, right? Like it happens, So it's like I think that we can do that, but when I'm trying to run the business at the same time, the estimates are still taking too long, and it's like then he gets into the afternoon to sell the work, you're like, holy cow, this is a problem, So our first week, it's kind of hard to say with our first week with the other tech. So, but I feel as though my next hire may be an advisor and not a third technician.
So who do you have? So the service writers building the estimates now. Just walk me through this, because I'm thinking about. I've got this idea running through my head on something where we could be a little bit more efficient, and I think most of that idea at our shop is the technicians adding the parts and the labor.
So here's when I was a flat rate tech, I did my own estimates. Labor time. No, I did my own labor times. I did my own parts cost. Now I never worked at an independent. So it's a lot different at a dealership because you have a huge asset of people that can rely on to make things more efficient, right? But the shops that I worked at when I was a flat rate dealer tech, we did that part of it, and then they did the numbers. They sold the work. Everything went well. The way that we do it here, and the way that I suggest most shops do it, because I know it works, is whatever you have on the schedule for the day, those cars get pulled in the morning. Ideally, I want 3 cars per technician per day, evaluated, DVI done before lunch. The work gets sold immediately as soon as we can. My cutoff time for my goal is 1:30 for my service advisor to update all the customers with estimates. Right? We struggle to meet that. I'm not going to lie. And then after that, we work on the work that can be done that day from the stuff that's being sold. If we have carryover work from the day before, that does not get priority necessarily over top of the stuff that's here for that day. It's a balancing act. It's not black and white. It is definitely shades of gray. Occasionally, I'll have my technician actually do work first thing in the morning at 8 o'clock. If that's the case, then I'll go out in the shop and I'll start to do some evaluations and diagnostic work or whatever the case may be. Like I view myself as the grease of the shop. Like I just want to keep things moving nice and easy.
Yeah.
And there's some balancing act to that. Like I really like your approach where you have a strong diagnostician and then you have the guys hanging parts, right? And you have to look at the shop foreman is usually going to be your diagnostician, and you have to balance out his pay. Is like you can't really say that his technician pay. So if you look at like your labor GP, you have some leeway on converting some of his into admin stuff. So it's like I really like that if I have the right setup. But
yeah, my goal is to not having one of our techs dying on a job, whether it's a bolt broke off, whether it's a diagnostic, whether it's they can't. I've had guys not be able to pry a coil spring into place, and I say, leave that there, go up front, grab another one, and I'll just finish it. You know what I mean? Like that's my goal. My goal is to not have our guys dying on a job, and whether that's diagnostic or whether it's mechanical or whether it's something went sideways, a bolt stuck or a hole needs to be tapped or you name it, like that's the goal, and that's kind of how we run.
I think that's a really good way to do it. I mean, on yours, I don't know how big your 3 shops are, like individually, right? That might be a
47 technicians.
Not true.
Not when true at all. Mike's scale, where he has pretty large 3 shops, it might be a little bit more of a challenge where you might actually need 2 of those people to do it, not just one, right?
We have one for mechanical stuff in each building. I've got a guy that can get a bolt unstuck or just make something happen mechanically in every building. The same guy, They're not what I wouldn't call them weak diagnostic wise. I'd say they're probably average diagnostic wise in the other two buildings, and they can be the guy over there that handles that. And we got one guy in each building that does that kind of, and it works pretty good.
So,
Works real good.
so to go back to your question about like trying to look at processes and make things work, if you get off the covered wagon, right, and join the bandwagon, and get one of these other systems, right? My service advisor, she's as soon as the car comes in, she's looking at the Carfax for maintenance history, and we start estimating immediately when the car's here. So she's building estimates before the car's even pulled in the shop, and that's the part that I'm trying to streamline because that takes too long, right? And you can go to a
I have something I want to add to that. So, not a sponsor of the podcast. They probably should be. I'll talk to them about that. Detect Auto is an integration with Tekmetric right now, and it's a one-button click,
Mm-hmm.
and it searches Carfax service history and your local service, internal service history of that vehicle, and you can set up what your standards are for maintenance intervals and we want to do a transmission service every 50,000 miles on these vehicles, right? So it'll check Carfax and your service history for that, and then it will give you a list of the shit that you don't have service history done. In one click, you can add all that to the estimate.
So
it's
we had
pretty
that.
fucking slick.
We
pretty
had
fucking
it,
slick.
and maybe it works better for Tekmetric. It did not work well for us at the time that we used it. Now it was pretty darn new, so we basically opted out after like a month.
Was
and
it Detect Auto you were using?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't want to
Well,
burn your bridges with Detect Auto sponsorship in like the next couple months. But no,
well, that's because you're using an antiquated software.
Yeah,
Guaranteed. You've gone from the covered wagon and now you have a horseless carriage.
That's cool. That's cool. So the service advisor, like, she knows that she's doing these other things, and then I don't know how well Mitchell can do this, right? But we're able to go into the ticket
It cannot. It's terrible.
So she's able to look at like our technicians. I said, I want you to do the DVI first, right? So the DVI gets completed. Anything that's marked amber or red on shopware, we're already building estimates.
Amber. That's nice.
Yeah. So then, so we're doing that while the technician is still looking at the car. So we're building estimates. So that really helps a lot to be able to like get that information started and then be able to present the customer after their evaluation of their concern is completed. And then, of course, we go through the process with them. We're working on some better ways to do it, whether or not we want to show prices, when we send it all over. But we have a really good discovery conversation like, hey, this is how we do things. It's a little bit different than other shops. You're going to get a list of things that are wrong with your car. And I tell them straight up, the goal is to not sell you all of this stuff. We just want you to be aware of it so you can make the most educated decision on, repairs and maintenance.
Sure. And that's fair.
Yeah. And it's like, it never fails. Like the last one we did was like $12,000 worth of work on an 04 Highlander. And it's like, they bought a catalytic converter and 4 tires. And we actually called them to make sure they wanted to buy the tires because there was a bunch of other things that were in the priority list that were above it. And they said, nope, it's what we want. I said, okay, we're good. We did our job. They understand where they're at. And I'm okay with it. Now, if it's something crazy, I'm not saying I'm going to deny it, but there's a chance that I will deny to do some other work. It's on the bottom of the list.
If it would have you liable for something.
Yeah, so
for sure.
So like that really helps when you have a system that they can pull stuff in and start doing estimating while they're still looking at the car. That's a pretty big increase on that. So like, I don't know how you do things. The cars don't sit in the bays right now. I have the ability to do so because I have approximately 2 lifts per tech. So that does help some. But if you look at the numbers game, some shops would be like, well, 2 lifts per tech, you can get 55 or 60 hours a week out of that one guy. Whereas if you put a tech on each bay, you can get 40 hours out of each and it makes you more money. It's like, yeah, but then I have more techs, more like liability. I have to definitely get more advisors. And it's like, I have a toolbox storage problem because the bays aren't built correctly. And it's like, there's a lot of moving pieces of that. and I'm comfortable. I'm not in it to make the absolute most money that I can make. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And it's like I'm okay
That's
with.
where you lost me.
Yeah, it's okay. And I estimate the yellow or the amber. And I know that we'll do that
with the covered wagon. We call it yeller.
Yeller.
You're yeller.
So it's like we're allowed to have differences of way to run the business. I know you're
110%. Absolutely agree.
And I still consider both of you guys my friends, I guess, even though Mike doesn't do it right. But
Brian less so. He's less of a friend and more of an associate. Really,
an associate.
Hey, all right. So here's the reality. I got to go cook dinner for my kids. It's breakfast for dinner night, and I got to make scrambled eggs because nobody else in the family makes scrambled eggs like I do.
Do you use milk and cheese in there too?
I spit in it. I just spit in it a little bit.
That is freaking gross as shit, Mike. Good night.
But this has been really fun, Josh. I knew it would be because you're always fun to talk to.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to see your growth over the next year. I think, I don't think it's going to be a $2.3 million 2025, right?
No,
but I think you're going to take a huge jump from where 2024 was. And that's going to be awesome to watch and kind of live vicariously through you as you do that.
You don't know, man, if that A-Tech he hired, if that's the right guy, sometimes you get the right person that's feeling it, and that's the secret sauce,
You need like 3 right persons in a shop, and it can be a dynamite operation.
Right.
Yeah, I think from what I can see right now, like Lucas warned me, oh man, I tell you about the honeymoon phase. It's like, yeah, I had of the hires that I got, the honeymoon phase turned into like an Adam Sandler movie where it was a train wreck. And it's like, there's truth to that. I hired this guy basically in his reputation. We did not have.
You cannot start a new story. I have to cook dinner.
All right.
He has to spit the eggs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Josh, this was awesome.
All right.
Can we do it again in like 6 months and get an update?
Yeah.
Why don't we do it after dinner though?
Or when it's not my night to cook.
Okay, is that the deal? It's your night.
We're doing chocolate chip pancakes, maple bacon, and scrambled eggs.
Spitty eggs.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Dude.
All right.